I've been doing some work on my bee today, and I'm going to do some cut work on this piece of string padding that I've laid down here. And what I'd like to do is to cover that string padding with wire check. This is a metal pearl which is hollow down the middle, and you need to cut it to exactly, it's called cut work, you need to cut it to exactly the right length to go over the top of the string padding. If it's too long, then it'll buckle and crack and not sit right. If it's too short, it won't cover the whole length and you'll end up with a really ragged edge. So getting the right length to lie down at the right angle to cover the padding is kind of the most important thing when it comes to cut work. So I thought I'd show you a little bit about how I do that and how I make sure that I get the right length. So what I do is I've got my thread already tied on here, and it's just a double length of ordinary machine sewing thread, and that's been carefully waxed. I use beeswax from a friend of mine. It's lovely fresh beeswax. It's got sort of the hardness of a bar of soap or something. If you've got a mummified lump of beeswax in your sewing kit, do yourself a favour and get some fresh, because otherwise it'll crumble all over your work, and that's no fun at all. But anyway, I have waxed my sewing thread that I'm going to use, as well as making the sewing thread stronger. That also gives it a little bit of stiffness, which helps when I show you how I'm going to use this to measure. So this is the thread I'm going to be using to sew it down over here. I'm going to have it's going to come up here, and I want it to go down over here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay my sewing thread in the position that it's going to be in when it's got the pearl on it. And I'm going to use this is a tip of my tekabari, which is my Japanese laying tool, to push it down to where it would be going down through the fabric there. So now I'm holding it across the shape where it's going to be lying, and then I'm just going to pull it slightly back with this against the tip of the tekabari, and when I lift it, it's got a little kink on it, and that will show me the length I need for my wire check pearl. So here comes the wire check, and now what I'm going to do is lay that down next to the sewing thread, and that will give me an idea of the exact length I need to cut to lay down there. And so what I tend to do is cut two of those at that length. Normally do it on a velvet board, but I need to keep the camera focus on the right spot. Cut two of those exact same length, and then if when I come to sew the first one down it is the right length, then I can use the second one as a reference to cut the rest of the next piece as well. And obviously, being a tapering shape, the length will vary as you go along the shape, but the first few should be more or less the same. So I'm going to thread that onto my needle. Yeah. Thread it on, and as you thread it on, just give it a roll like that, and that makes sure that if it's got a bit of a curve to it, the needle doesn't stick out the side of the pearl and crack it, because there's no going back when it does that. Thread that straight on and push it down to the end here, and then lay it down to the angle that you wanted, and hopefully that should be just the right length for where you wanted to put it. So I'll sew that down now. There we go. Pull pull that through gently. Bingo. And so now we just need to carry on adding more pearls until we get to the end, and then we come back and do it the other way, gradually making the pearls shorter and shorter until we get to the point. I hope that's helpful to somebody. Thank you. Enjoy.